Hey, here's the review of round 5 of the 2019 NRL season. I've watched 4 of the games this weekend. I managed to catch 4 games this week. We start with the Brisbane Broncos versus the West Tigers, and this is a game that Brisbane could and should have won. Yeah, Brisbane are having a really, really poor season so far. They've won 1 out of 5 games. The West Tigers, while they weren't perfect, they played a lot better than Brisbane. They were more controlled, and they got the tries when they needed to get them. And even under pressure, right at the end to win the game, they did that under pressure as well. Brisbane, they are in a mess. And part of the problem with Brisbane is what I've seen: very young team, not enough leaders on the field. And Darius Boyd, the captain, has come under a lot of criticism again this weekend. They are lacking some leadership in the forward pack. It's a very young forward pack. And they are lacking some structure in attacking play. It's a bit more off the cuff and a bit more unstructured. And I don't think it suits the players that are there. They think they need a bit more structure and stability. They have only won 1 game. I've never seen a Brisbane team in my lifetime play this badly. The West Tigers, they've had a decent start to the season. That's 3 wins out of 5. They can be quite happy with that. They can be very happy with that. They've started the season very, very well. And let's see if they can keep this momentum up. Now, they had a couple of rough defeats in there. They've bounced back with a win against a tough opponent in Brisbane. But Brisbane at home should have won that game. There were times where they were dominating and then they just couldn't. West Tigers got sloppy at times, but when it mattered, they got the tries. The Gold Coast Titans, Penrith Panthers. Gold Coast finally get a win after their 4-game losing streak. Thankfully, it's come, and they proved they can score tries because they haven't scored a lot of tries so far. The weekend, they proved they could do it, and it was at home, and that was an important win. They've got something to build on. They can go from there. There are some issues with the Gold Coast Titans. Penrith have got problems as well. Penrith, while they scored a lot of points, this is another team that can't score. They scored a lot of points, but they're too sloppy with the ball. And they've got a lot of skilled players. Across the field. Their forward pack is one of the best forward packs in the competition. But their ball retention is poor. And I noticed that during all the games I've seen of Penrith, they make a lot of handling errors. And apart from this game, they haven't scored a lot of tries. Their back line is not scoring the tries that it should get. It's plain and simple. It's not that the backs aren't scoring the tries. And overall, as a team, with Ivan Cleary as coach, they're not scoring enough tries as a rule. That is an issue with Ivan Cleary's sides that's been regularly documented as his time as a coach, is his teams don't score enough points. Gold Coast have been struggling this season. They finally clicked in this game. Can they go on a little run? All 3 Queensland sides have struggled so far this season. Gold Coast had a wretched start against Canberra. They have been getting better and better. They finally get that win. I was impressed with the Gold Coast Titans as well, considering how they've started the season. Watching how they played, really impressed. They have had some injuries. They've had to rejig the back line at times. But they pulled it out when they needed to pull it out at home. Let's see if they can build on that and get a couple more wins together and move up the table, because there are some teams above them that have started losing again. Another Queensland team, the North Queensland Cowboys, their task doesn't get any easier. They've lost to the Melbourne Storm. Melbourne are unbeaten. They're the only unbeaten team in the competition, but there are some teams that are keeping them on notice. Now, they won the game 18-12. I didn't see the game. North Queensland have problems. They have problems. They are not playing well. Apart from the opening weekend win, they have been really poor. Much like Brisbane and Gold Coast, they're defensively, those 3 sides are the worst 3 teams defensively in the competition, and there is something going on. There must be something in the water in Queensland, because the Cowboys, they look like they are actually seriously missing Jonathan Thurston's leadership. It looks like they are missing his guiding hand as captain and in the dressing room. Even if he's not playing, they're missing his guiding hand around the team. It's showing. The Melbourne Storm, they are a machine. They're efficient. They don't necessarily score 30, 40, 50 points a game, but they control the pace of a game. They control the possession. They control the territory. They grind you down. And they are looking pretty much unbeatable at the moment. They will lose games this season. They will. But the way they have started the season, home and away, they've been very solid. A lot of their games have been low scoring. They haven't blown anyone out. Canterbury gave them a damn good scare last round in round 4. So they are showing some human frailties, but it's the way they control the pace of the game. It's the way Cameron Smith dictates play from dummy half. It's the way Cameron Munster's moved in from fullback into the halves and is really relishing that role. They are a solid, functional team. They're not outstanding, but they do it by grinding the opposition down. They control set completions, territory, and the Cowboys they aren't playing well. They're low on confidence. Their defence is poor. While they didn't concede as many points this weekend, they're not scoring enough either. So in attack, they're not scoring enough, and in defence, they're conceding too many. Much like Brisbane as well, and Gold Coast. Defensively, these 3 Queensland sides are the worst in the competition. They have leaked a lot of points, and they are struggling. There's a reason why all of them have lost 4 games out of 5 this season. We now move on to the South Sydney Rabbitohs, New Zealand Warriors. The Warriors have been better than people expected this season. They've had some heavy defeats in there, but the last couple of weeks, even though they lost this game, they're much tighter defensively and they can score freely. They've scored a lot of points. The Rabbitohs, what is there to say about the Rabbitohs? They are keeping Melbourne Storm honest. They obviously beat the Roosters on the first weekend, which was a statement win. And they've proven, obviously, with Greg Inglis announcing his retirement, they've proven they can win without Greg Inglis in the side. They've proved that for the last couple of years. To be fair, Greg Inglis has been injured for most of the last 3 years. I think that's a fitting way to say to Greg Inglis, happy retirement, we've won this for you. They are looking good. Defensively, there are some issues with the Bunnies. They do leak a lot of tries, but they score more than they concede as a rule. So they're very open as a side. And Wayne Bennett, I think, still has some work to do with this team. He's still got to implant his philosophy upon the team, but he has helped with the Burgess brothers being in that team because he coaches them for England and Great Britain. So that message will be getting across to those players a lot quicker. But there are still things the Bunnies can work on. However, they are outscoring opponents, and they've had some statement wins so far. Going forward, there are things they can work on. The Warriors, they're going to be frustrated in defeat, losing a close game, but in defeat they didn't lose badly, and that's important because some of the defeats they've had this season have been heavy defeats. So their defence is starting to tighten up, and in attack they're getting more potent. The Bunnies they are an attacking joy to watch. Defensively, they have some frailties, but they're outscoring opposition as a rule so far. So while they can keep outscoring their opposition, they're going to do well this season. Now we get on to 2 teams that I think are going to struggle this year. The Newcastle Knights, they're not scoring enough points. While they're not getting blown out and their defence is pretty solid, they are not scoring enough points. The Sea Eagles, they have a weak squad as well. I think these sides will get those close wins. The Knights are proving difficult to play against. It's another game I didn't watch, but looking at the scoreline and looking at what I've seen on social media, the Knights are a tough side to play against. The issue with the Knights is they're not getting enough points scored. So that's hampering them in their development as a squad. They've got some great players there. David Clem has been a great addition, but Nathan Ross retiring because of injury, another player who's had to retire this year because of injury. They are missing his strike running on the wing and his try-scoring talents, because you put Nathan Ross in that side fully fit, the scoreline's the other way around. Manly have their own issues. They're recovering from a salary cap breach. They have a weaker squad than some other sides. It's time for Daly Cherry Evans to really step up and lead. But they are starting to grind out some wins. They are starting to get the wins now, but they themselves aren't scoring as many points as they could. However, for 2 low-scoring teams, they scored a lot of points at the weekend, but it's they're going to be, I think, the Newcastle Knights, I think they're going to be lower mid-table. Manly Sea Eagles, they might be around finals contention. It's all about how they can keep this momentum going. Newcastle, they've got to find a way to score some more tries, because that's what's hindering them going forward. Defensively, they are pretty solid. It's an attack where their weakness lies. A team that's been disappointing me this season is Cronulla. Battered by the Roosters, and I will say battered because the Roosters doubled their score. Cronulla have disappointed me this season. I think Cronulla are on a slight down curve. They've had some issues with Moylan and Gallen. Sean Johnson, is he settling into this system? They've obviously had the off-season scandal with their salary cap breach and Shane Flanagan being deregistered as coach. So there's a lot going on off the field for Cronulla. They are disappointing me this season. I think that should have motivated them what happened in the off-season. Clearly, there are some issues there. The Roosters, apart from that opening round defeat to the Rabbitohs, they are keeping the competition on notice as well. They are a high-scoring team. They can score at will. They have got players like Latrell Mitchell in the side, and Latrell Mitchell is a superstar player in the making. They've got some. They might have lost some players in the off-season. They've had some new additions added, so it took a while for them to all gel. But now they are firing on all cylinders, and they look pretty scary going forward. I think that's going to be fun when they play the Melbourne Storm first up. That's going to be a fun game to watch. Or when they play the Canberra Raiders, that's going to be a fun game to watch. We've seen with Rabbitohs and Roosters already face off so far this season. That was a great game to watch in testing conditions. Let's see what the Roosters can do against some of the other top teams. The Sharks are a mid-table team this season, I think. I think that's where they're going to be. Unless they can start getting some form together, they could possibly slip down the table. Now, possibly the most one-sided game of the round, and I watched this game, is the St George Illawarra Dragons versus the Canterbury Bulldogs. Words fail me with how poor Canterbury were. It's like we're revisiting the opening rounds of the competition. They got a bit of confidence with that close loss to Melbourne and that victory a few weeks ago. That's all gone. It's back to shocking defending. Defensively, they are a shambles, and in attack, they're disorganised. St George, they are missing Gareth Widdop. He is injured. The Jabellan saga is ongoing and has yet to reach its conclusion. There are, Corbin Sims, broken arm. They are missing some players. Vaughan, ankle injury. That's going to be monitored going forward. But they put 40 points past Canterbury. They were scoring at one point. They were just scoring with ease. They were just walking it over the line almost. Canterbury had no answer to the offensive onslaught that the Dragons gave them. The Bulldogs are in trouble. Much like the three Queensland sides, the Bulldogs are in deep trouble. Defensively, they are all at sea. They're all over the place. Also, they are lacking leadership. They are a very young group. The average age is very, very young. They've got some really young players playing at fullback, in the halves, in the forward pack. Dylan Narper's injured. With the amount of players they've lost, like James Graham, the Morris twins. They've lost a lot of players going out the door. Clemmer, Woods. The players that have been brought up, they're young, they're inexperienced, they need a guiding hand from some senior players, and there's not enough senior players at the Bulldogs to get them through this difficult period. This is going to be a long season for the Bulldogs. They need to figure out a way to defend and shore up that defence, because they're one of the worst defences in the league as well. Alongside the Queensland sides, the Bulldogs are in serious trouble defensively. They really are. The ease in which the Dragons, an understrength Dragon, a Dragon side that's missing many key players, had in just steamrolling them. It was almost like a training exercise for the Dragons at times. And even without Gareth Widdop as captain, the Dragons didn't miss him. They didn't miss Corbin Sims in the pack. That's how easy it was for the Dragons that two of their key players, who are long-term injury absentees, weren't missed by this side. Bulldogs are in trouble. The Canberra Raiders, Parramatta Eels. Obviously, I'm a Raiders fan, so I've saved the best for last, and it was the last game of the weekend. The Raiders, the second time they have nilled an opposition this season, and it's the first time, I think, for a long time they've nilled an opposition at home as well. And it's the last time the Eels won was in 2006 in Canberra. So it's been a long time since the Eels have won in Canberra. The Raiders, they controlled the possession. The Eels held on for a long time. In the first half, it took a long time for the Raiders to finally put all that possession and territory into scoring tries. But once the floodgates opened, they controlled the game. The Eels weren't close to scoring. Blake Ferguson, it looks like he's broken or separated some ribs. His nose is mangled. That's going to be a big injury concern. Is Blake Ferguson going off injured? Tarpany went off injured with an ankle injury, much like Vaughan. And Aaron Woods. There's been a lot of ankle injuries this weekend. but I was really impressed with the Raiders. I'm really impressed with how they've played this season so far. They're doing better than expected. And to be fair, the Eels so far this season have actually played better than expected as well, but they were decisively second best. Is this a one-off defeat? Quite possibly. You're not going to win every game. To get nilled is not what you want, but the Eels have been better than people expected this season. There are teams worse than them. The Bulldogs are worse. The Knights, the Sharks, the Cowboys, the Titans, the Broncos, the Panthers. These teams are a lot worse than Parramatta. Parramatta's going to have a field day with these teams when they meet. They've come up against a really informed Raiders side, a confident Raiders side, a Raiders side without Aiden Caesar in the halves. Yeah. The English connection, the Fab Foursome as they're now known, Sutton, Bateman, the new additions to Hodgson and I forgot his name. Oh, I've forgotten his name. And Whitehead. There you go. Dean White. Yeah. Fab Foursome had a big part to play. The English condition had a big part to play in the Raiders win. All of them were forwards. Raiders look good. So the Raiders and the Roosters and the Rabbitohs, them winning is keeping the Melbourne Storm alert. Because while Melbourne are unbeaten, there are teams behind them that, any slip up, they're going to get in there. So there we are for now. That's a round 5 review. I will do a preview tomorrow morning. So for now, thank you very much for watching. Please place your thoughts below. Please like and subscribe, and I'll have some more videos for you soon.